What if I told you the most dominant playoff run in NBA history didn't come from a perfect team, but from one of the media said was too selfish, too divided, too soft? The 2001 Lakers went 15-1 in the postseason, the best playoff record the league had ever seen at the time. That's not the story of harmony. That's the story of tension, egos, and chaos somehow flipping into history. So how did a fractured champion, written off all year, humiliate the entire league? The 2001 Lakers entered as defending champs, but the belief around the league said otherwise. They had the banner, the rings, the target on their backs, but not the respect. Instead of being treated like a dynasty in the making, they were seen as vulnerable, already on the slide. That was their reality from opening night. The cracks weren't just on the surface. Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant force in basketball, missed the All-Star game that season because of a nagging foot injury, and the media relentlessly pushed questions about his conditioning. Kobe Bryant, meanwhile, faced whispers about selfishness and an unwillingness to fully buy into team play. One superstar battling to stay healthy, one superstar trying to prove he could lead. Add the pressure of chasing greatness and the picture of instability came into clear focus. Even the record played into the doubt. The Lakers finished 56-26, good enough to win the Pacific Division by a single game over Sacramento, landing them the number 2 seed in the West. On paper, solid, but compared to what rivals were doing, it fell shaky. San Antonio posted the best record in the conference at 58-24. Sacramento sat right behind Los Angeles at 55-27. The margin wasn't the gap you'd usually expect from a reigning champ. Instead, it looked like a wide-open war zone with no clear favorite. San Antonio had 2 towers in Tim Duncan and David Robinson, anchoring a defense that punished mistakes. Sacramento was hungry, fast, and fearless, with the swagger of a team ready to overthrow the throne. Against teams like that, a fragile champion felt like fresh meat. Every matchup looked like a chance to expose them. Los Angeles carried themselves like a heavyweight who still wore the belt but didn't scare anyone walking into the ring. And truthfully, the Lakers didn't spend the regular season dispelling that narrative. The numbers didn't scream domination, the chemistry didn't scream unity, and the mood around the team made it easy to label them a one-hit wonder. Instead of momentum, there was drama. Instead of trust, there were questions. It felt like their run was one argument, one injury, one bad week away from collapse. Yet through all of that, the rings mattered. They were still champions, still carrying the status of the last team standing. Other teams hoped for their downfall but knew exactly what it could mean if the Lakers figured themselves out. That possibility, that terrifying ceiling no one wanted to see, was always in the background. The thing is, the doubts on the court weren't the biggest weight they carried. The real battles were happening in the locker room, where 2 superstars were locked in a collision course that could decide everything. Shaq and Kobe weren't just teammates. They were 2 powerhouses crashing toward each other at full speed. On one side, Shaq ruled the paint, a giant who demanded the game flow through him. On the other, Kobe was the young star who refused to sit in anyone's shadow. Both wanted to lead. Neither wanted to yield. This wasn't quiet friction, it was a full-blown collision course. Shaq believed he had earned unquestioned dominance, carrying the Lakers to a title and proving he was the force that made them champions.
When everything went through me, the outcome was good. It was 67-15, playing with enthusiasm. The city was jumping up and down, had a parade and everything. And now we're 23-11, so you figure it out. I've always wanted to be a team player. And if the big dog ain't me, then the house won't get guarded. Period.
Kobe, younger and relentless, didn't see a reason to wait. Respect wasn't going to be handed down. He was determined to take it.
People wanted me to just kind of level off my play and not improve and just do the same thing I did last year. And I'm not going to do that. And I work too hard and I improve as a basketball player every day. And I want to show that I improve.
That clash of pride and ambition wasn't a behind-the-scenes rumor. It was front-page drama. Reports of fistfights, locker room standoffs, and pointed digs in the media made headlines all season.
Since Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant came to the Lakers, there have been questions whether the two could blend their talents.
You didn't need to peek behind the curtain and see it. The feud played out in public. Shaq calling out Kobe's shot selection. Kobe firing back about Shaq's conditioning. Stories stacked up until they shaped the Lakers' reputation.
Things going on, I guess, with Kobe and Shaq were well documented, but it was too much focus put on that. And I think, for a lot of us as members of the team, we kind of stepped back and also started paying attention to that a lot instead of really being held accountable for what we could do to help the team.
The question lingered. Could a team that explosive inside its own locker room actually hold together on the court? Because here's the truth. Chemistry can't be faked. If superstars don't trust each other, no coach's playbook is going to save them. You can play for a defense, you can swap lineups, but you can't diagram trust on a clipboard. A broken bond between cornerstones usually kills a team faster than anything the opponent throws at you. And in LA, that bond was cracking right in public view. But the irony was that this conflict also created an edge. Shaq's need to dominate clashed with Kobe's need to prove himself, forcing both to sharpen their games. The tension hurt, no doubt, but it also pressured each of them to push harder, play meaner, and demand more. Still, fire unmanaged only burns you down. What the Lakers had wasn't balance. It was chaos. To survive it, someone needed to control that energy, steer it, and make it useful. That wasn't just a coaching matter. It was psychological management at the highest stakes. It meant finding a way to align egos so massive they threatened to split the team. That responsibility fell to Phil Jackson. He wasn't new to stars, but Shaq and Kobe together were unlike anything else. This wasn't about getting one player to sacrifice shots. It was about establishing a framework where two alpha leaders each thought they should be the centerpiece. Jackson had to convince them that the throne wasn't a one-man share. It was a balance. A balance fragile enough that the whole season depended on it. And that's where the story takes its sharp turn. Could Phil bend two titans toward the same goal? Phil Jackson's move wasn't loud speeches or fiery rants. His answer was quieter but stricter. Double down on the triangle offense. In his second season with the Lakers, with Texas Winter still on staff as the system's architect, Jackson leaned harder on its demands: spacing, reads, disciplined roles. The triangle wasn't about pleasing stars. It was about making everyone fit into a rhythm bigger than themselves. By year 2, the team finally had enough reps to grasp it. Jackson had already seen what happened when talent freelanced, when shot-taking turned into stat chasing. That wasn't going to carry them through a brutal West. The triangle was his filter. It created a structure where chaos had lived all season. Every player had a clear lane. Every possession became about movement, not isolation. And for anyone unwilling to adjust, the system exposed it immediately. On paper, it worked beautifully. The design opened the floor, giving Shaq deep touches inside, while letting Kobe attack from the wing. But it only worked if they trusted it. That meant Shaq couldn't just hold the ball through every double team. He had to kick it out, forcing defenses to rotate. That meant Kobe couldn't hijack every set for isolation highlights. He had to read the floor and swing it when the system called for it. Those adjustments were small in theory, but massive in reality. For Shaq, giving up the ball felt like surrender. For Kobe, moving the ball instead of hunting every matchup felt like wasted opportunity. It wasn't some smooth epiphany, it was tug of war every night. But when they both bought in, even briefly, the game shifted. Shaq's doubles turned into kickouts. Kobe's drives opened weak side shooters. Suddenly, Derek Fisher would spot up wide open. Rick Fox slashed into the lane. Robert Horry found clean looks from deep. This was the triangle at full power. It didn't erase the tension. Shaq still wanted the rock. Kobe still wanted the shots. But the triangle gave them no choice. It pushed them into cooperation, and when the stars even halfway committed, the guys around them finally had room to matter. Role players weren't just filling space. They were cashing in on the opportunities the system created. Stars steal the spotlight, but the real grind belongs to the forgotten soldiers. Shaq and Kobe could grab headlines all day, yet without the steady cast around them, the whole machine risked sputtering out. What set this Lakers run apart was how those role players quietly patched the holes and gave the triangle offense its bite. The clearest example was Derek Fisher. He missed the first 62 games of the season with a stress fracture in his right foot, and it showed in how disjointed the Lakers looked without him. When he returned in mid-March, everything started clicking. Fisher wasn't dropping triple-doubles, but he stabilized the offense like few guards could. He parked behind the arc, spread the floor, and kept the pace steady. And when it mattered, he delivered, shooting a blistering 51.5% from deep during the playoffs. That kind of accuracy forced defenses to stay honest. Then came Horace Grant. By 2001, his prime Chicago days were behind him, but he brought exactly what the Lakers lacked: grit on the glass, and smart defense. He averaged 8.5 points and 7.1 rebounds in the regular season, numbers that don't grab headlines but filled critical gaps. Grant handled the dirty work, boxing out, contesting shots, keeping possessions alive. So Shaq didn't have to wear himself down chasing every board. He gave the team toughness in the middle. Rick Fox added another layer. He wasn't overpowering anyone, but he played as a true two-way presence. On offense, he hit almost 40% of his threes in the regular season, slipping into space and punishing opponents who focused too hard on Shaq and Kobe. On defense, he had the versatility to guard multiple spots, bringing a toughness that opponents hated dealing with. What made him a problem wasn't volume scoring. It was hitting the right shot or making the right stop at exactly the wrong time for the other team. And of course, there was Robert Horry. Big Shot Rob. His reputation said it all. He didn't rack up minutes chasing stats, but when the game broke late and the ball swung his way, he was the one you wanted spotting up. He had already built a name for himself as a playoff closer. And with the Lakers, the cycle continued. Kickouts from Shaq double. Kobe drawing help. Horry in rhythm. Those moments flipped games and closed out opponents who had done everything else right. Together, these guys weren't just background names. They were the structure that let Shaq dominate without breaking down. That gave Kobe oxygen for his attacks, and that made the triangle offense function at full strength. Each of them filled a lane, held their ground, and hit when defenses thought they could cheat. But here's the question. Could this patchwork of veterans actually survive the playoff crucible? The first test came fast, and the answer left no doubt. First stop, Portland. Portland came in believing they had the right mix to make Los Angeles sweat. Size, depth, and plenty of grudges from past playoff losses gave the Blazers confidence that if they slowed Shaq and baited Kobe, they could flip the script.
They were basically saying, oh, Lakers is what we want. We're a better team. They got lucky last year. They're not going to do that this year.
On paper, it looked like trouble, but the courts told a different story. Right from game one, Shaq set the tone inside, ripping down 20 rebounds and leaving Portland scrambling to manage his presence on the glass. Every time they shaded help toward him, Kobe probed gaps, attacked off the dribble, and buried contested jumpers. That inside-out combination shredded Portland's defensive plan before it even had legs. You could feel the shift immediately. The Blazers' supposed depth turned into confusion. Rotations broke down. Offensive rhythm collapsed under pressure.
The door opened and bang, they disintegrated almost before our eyes.
By game two, LA's pace ran downhill while Portland already looked like a group trying to keep the score respectable. Not a team fighting to stay alive in a series.
Anytime you got Shaq stepping up shooting technical shots, and you know it's pretty much over.
The sweep ended 3-0, but that number sells the story short. What you saw was a team finally looking together, finally clicking in ways that erased the noise of the regular season. Think of it like a fight where everyone expected the champ to stumble into the ring out of shape. Then in the open round, he drops body shots so heavy the other guy never recovers. Questions about chemistry? Gone. Media predictions of implosion? Drowned out. For the first time that season, the Lakers looked like one connected unit chasing the same target. The bench energy told the story. Guys rooting for each other, celebrating stops and buckets, not side-eyeing rolls. The Blazers left no mark on the bracket. But they left something bigger behind, proof that this version of the Lakers existed. And make no mistake, sweeping Portland wasn't just about moving forward.
We've grown so much since last season. And knowing how to put teams away, to be able to sweep a team, I think it sends a message to everybody else around the league that we're for real.
It was a broadcast to the rest of the West that said, this isn't the distracted, beatable team you thought you'd see. This was the reset button, and it was already pressed. If Portland folded fast, the Kings would be a sterner test. Sacramento came in carrying hype.
We won the first round, let's go! Let's go, West!
This was the group everyone said could finally crack the champs. Fast, flashy, unafraid, and ready to run.
This year, he's had 5 in one game.
Look out, passed it to himself, laid it in!
They played with energy, ball movement, and swagger that made the regular season feel like a coming-out party. The Kings weren't intimidated. They pushed tempo, shared the ball like it was a pickup game, and celebrated every highlight. Against most teams, that kind of rhythm snowballs into wins. On paper, the setup had drama written all over it. Sacramento's shooters and passers could fuel scoring bursts that swung games in a heartbeat. Fans expected chaos, a rivalry heating up, maybe even a street fight for control of the West. The Kings believed they could push the Lakers into mistakes, shake their chemistry, and maybe end their reign early. That was the script everyone thought we were about to see. But the games told a different story. This was a faster opponent, but LA met speed with force, and force won. The reason was simple. Their two stars detonated the series. Shaq opened with back-to-back monster games, 44 points and 21 rebounds in Game 1, then 43 and 20 in Game 2. He didn't just own the interior, he buried the Kings under it. When Sacramento overcommitted inside, Kobe punished them from the perimeter. Game 3, Kobe poured in 36 points. Game 4, he finished the series with 48 points and 16 rebounds. Between the two of them, there was nothing left to solve. The Lakers swept 4-0, leaving no doubt. Sacramento took pride in being the bold, fearless young group circling the throne. But the sweep stripped that away. Their flashy identity dissolved into frustration. By the end, they didn't just lose 4 games, they were erased. The Lakers made them look like pretenders, not rivals. And the message traveled fast. This was no longer a story of locker room feuds or shaky chemistry. This was a juggernaut sharpening as the rounds went on. If the Kings, faster, flashier, fearless, got swept aside this easily, what about the team built on the opposite end of the spectrum? A team disciplined, defensive, precise. Could even they slow the steamroller?
I think right now we have a certain swagger about ourselves because we're the defending champions and we're on a 15-game winning streak right now. So I think there's naturally more confidence, to feel like we can pull out of any situation.
San Antonio wasn't hype. They were the league's best. They finished the regular season 58-24, the top record in the NBA, and came into the conference finals as the one team built to end the Lakers' run before it truly began. The team had size with Tim Duncan and David Robinson, discipline drilled into every possession, and a defensive system sharp enough to cut mistakes out of any opponent. If order was going to stop chaos, this was it.
If you ask me, is there bad blood? No question. They're not our favorite team, and we're not their favorite team.
The matchup on paper looked brutal for LA. 2 giants in the paint to challenge Shaq, a structured half-court offense to smother pace, and a coach in Greg Popovich who lived for turning strengths into weaknesses. The game plan was clear. Wall off the rim, force jumpers, slow tempo, and pull the Lakers back into the bad habits that dogged them all season. That's how San Antonio believed they could control the series. But what they ran into wasn't the chaotic Lakers of winter.
San Antonio was a team, when they won, they embarrassed us. They swept us. So Kobe had that in his mind. I had that in my mind.
From Game 1, Shaq tore through the so-called wall in the paint like it wasn't there. He overpowered Robinson, wore down Duncan, and made double teams look like speed bumps. Every catch inside was a problem San Antonio couldn't solve. And when they collapsed to contain him, Kobe slipped into gear. His perimeter scoring, mid-range pull-ups, and slashes punctured the rotation that San Antonio prided themselves on.
I told Kobe today he was my idol. He was playing. No, I'm serious. He's playing phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I think he's the best player in the league by far.
That 1-2 punch ripped the core right out of the Spurs' plan. The triangle, once dismissed as too stiff for big egos, was now running smoother and sharper than San Antonio's own machine. By Game 3, it wasn't just control slipping away. It was San Antonio's dignity. The Lakers thrashed them 111-72 in San Antonio's own building, a blowout so lopsided it felt like the league's hardest-nosed team had been stripped of its armor. A franchise built on discipline suddenly looked helpless, chasing shadows, every possession ending in a dunk, a jumper, or stunned Spur fans shaking their heads. The Spurs, who carried the league best record, were swept clean off the floor 4-0. For a team that prided itself on balance, teamwork, and composure, this wasn't just a loss. It was a dismantling. Watching Duncan and Robinson concede the paint, watching San Antonio's tight structure unravel into mismatches. You could see their aura of control evaporate before the series even closed. This sweep wasn't about one hot hand or lucky breaks. It was proof of just how unstoppable this version of Los Angeles had become. Now the record told the story loudest of all. 11 straight wins to open the playoffs. The defending champs hadn't dropped a single game in 3 rounds. The West was silence. The supposed dynasty killers destroyed.
One more to go, man. One more to go.
Heading into the finals, a perfect run was alive, and the only remaining question was whether anyone, just one man, one team, could finally make them bleed.
This is going to be the most important year of my career because, all eyes on me this year.
Allen Iverson was the one man who landed a real shot. Game 1 of the finals in Los Angeles, he walked in barely 6 feet tall, facing a team stacked with size, depth, and 2 unstoppable stars, and dropped 48 points.
Allen Iverson, 38 points!
He raced through traps, rose over defenders, and attacked every inch of daylight. That night ended 107-101 in overtime, with the Sixers stealing a win in Staples Center.
Wait, we ain't do nothing yet. We got a long way to go.
And it came with an image burned into NBA history. Iverson drilling a jumper in the corner, then stepping over Tyronn Lue, who looked like he owned the floor. It was the kind of moment that broke through the noise. For a night, the Lakers weren't the juggernauts everyone feared. They were just another team chasing Iverson's shadow. Philadelphia didn't just win, they stole the narrative. Suddenly the conversation flipped. If one guard could torch the champs like that, maybe the cracks were back. Critics pointed at Shaq's struggles guarding in space, Kobe being stretched thin, and chemistry that still looked fragile. After an 11-0 run through the West, all it took was one overtime loss to bring doubts roaring back. But that's where the story turned.
Leave it out there. I know tomorrow. Leave it out there. Team with a world chance. Go out there and play like it. All right, 1, 2, 3, race! Leave it out there. Let's go.
The punch landed, but the Giants got back up, and when the Lakers stood tall again, it wasn't even a contest. From Game 2 on, Shaq claimed the paint, like it was his personal property. He didn't just score, he punished. Loose balls, missed box outs, double teams, everything bounced back into his hands and ended at the rim. Across 5 games, he averaged about 33 points and nearly 16 rebounds. Numbers like that erased any illusion of control for Philadelphia. He looked like a man who decided one stumble was already too many. Kobe matched that change in a different story. He didn't try to top Iverson by firing up shots, he locked down. Chasing Iverson across screens, sliding into passing lanes, forcing tough looks that weren't there in Game 1.
What happened, first of all, with Allen Iverson right there at the end of the game?
Oh, no, it's friendly conversation, that's all. 2 competitors talking.
Didn't look too friendly.
Boy, in the heat of the battle, nothing's friendly.
You could see him flip the switch from young scorer to complete competitor. Scoring mattered, yes, but his defensive pressure was what shifted the tone. Philadelphia's engine suddenly had to work for everything. And once the stars brought balance, the role players reappeared. Derek Fisher spotted up and hit open threes. Robert Horry waited on the weak side for his daggers. What was chaos in Game 1 turned into a steady rhythm. The triangle offense hummed. Every Sixers gamble backfired. The next 4 games weren't just wins. They were layers of pressure piling up the underdogs. Philadelphia fought, but by Game 3, you could tell Iverson's 40-point bursts were about survival, not hope. The Lakers dismantled the Sixers piece by piece until the fight was gone.
The Lakers, who finished with a 15-1 run, the best all-time playoff winning percentage in the history of the league.
Congratulations to the world champion 2001 NBA Los Angeles Lakers.
Shaq claimed Finals MVP, and their postseason finished 15-1. No, it wasn't perfect. That single loss ended the dream of a clean sweep. But sometimes perfection broken is even stronger. Shaq and Kobe didn't magically repair the relationship on that championship parade. The feud would carry on, eventually splintering the team. But for that one season, those forces pulled in the same direction. Greatest team ever? Or not? If you want harmony, chemistry, everyone smiling in sync, maybe you pick another squad. But if you measure greatness by dominance, by raw power that left the entire West broken before June, then it's hard to put anyone else above them.